Sims, let's go.
Hello everyone, it's your girl Miracle Sims and you're watching the GSL Talk Show. Tonight we're going to be chatting with brother Rodney Footman, and he's an amazing podcaster and much, much more, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the GSL Talk Show. I am here with none other than brother Rodney Footman.
How you doing today?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Lord have mercy.
Oh goodness, look, we done laughed, we done cried, we done did everything already. I'm just playing. We didn't cry.
We ain't cried yet. Ain't no telling what's to come. We ain't cried yet. But hey, you never know how the Lord gonna move.
Exactly. Look, I said we already family and whatnot. Look, I hope I'm invited to the Cookout family reunion because that's how I'm feeling right now. All the good vibes.
All day. I guess you're gonna be doing the cooking. I'll provide the place. That's all that matters. You bring the food.
Listen, okay. My husband's on the ribs because he's pretty good at the ribs, and I might throw some side dishes. If I don't make them, I'll buy them.
Yeah, because to be honest, I got a whole grill. Like I started out cooking. I was excited about my grill, but it was like a new toy. Once you get a new toy, after a while it get old, get played out. Now that grill just sitting out there, so I might need to do something today because the weather is nice. So I might.
Get on out there, get you something on it, and look, be like, cheers to Miracle, got me on the grill.
I know, right?
Tell your family you're welcome. Tell them I said you. Man, listen, brother Rodney. Excuse me, bless me. I can't. Goodness, trying to get in the middle of this conversation. Sorry, y'all. You keep all that in there, Edit. It's fine. Anyway. No. Look, we done got too comfortable. I was sneezing and everything. Now,
very true. Bless you.
Thank you. So, brother, tell us where you are from and a little bit about yourself.
So, I am originally from Anderson, South Carolina. I was born and raised there. Been there almost all my life. I actually moved to Spartanburg. Found my wife. We was actually boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. So I moved to Spartanburg. Don't know why, because I don't even really like Spartanburg. So been in Spartanburg. So now we actually reside in Cowpen, South Carolina, which I kind of don't like, because it's quiet. Mm-hmm. I don't like quiet. I like city, but we got land. And I like the fact that we have land. So that's the only reason we really still here. A little bit about myself. I am 34 years old. I'm married, don't have any kids. Me and my wife been married 3 years now, going on 4. I am also a minister at my church, Mount Zion, FBH Global. My pastor is Reverend Daryl Stackhouse II. Definitely have to say the second because he gets mad a little bit if you don't, because him and his dad has the same name and he puts the emphasis on the second. But honestly, I'm a cool laid back guy. I just started a group called well, I ain't gonna say it's a group. It's not a formal group yet, but I do work with two sets of groups. I work with this group called the Man Cave. So it's basically just allowing men to come together and to be able to discuss and to be able to pour out things that they're not originally able to pour out in front of others. So it's basically like a safe space for men to come together and just be together. Then I also am working with another group called Man Up, which we actually have a event coming up September 2nd in Columbia. And that is, we just want to reverse that title of Man Up. Because man up, when you hear the word man up, you hear it from childhood all the way up into adulthood. And it basically, most of the time, the perception of man up is mean, don't worry about your feelings. Like if you fall, you fall, you hurt yourself, you get up, they tell you man up. No, I'm hurting. I got a bruise on my knee. Do you not see the bruise? Man up. Or in like grown, like not being able to show emotions, they tell you not to cry. They tell you to man up. Like don't show no emotions. You just put your head down, work, and just pile all that stuff in. So this is an event that we're going to be starting to have to, reverse that, because the real man up is acknowledging your feelings, articulating how you feel, and showing how you feel. So those are some things that we're going to be talking about. But other than that, man, I am a person that I like to stay to myself. I like to chill, laugh, have a good time. Football season coming up, so I got to root for my Carolina Panthers and my Carolina Gamecocks. So, that's me in a gist. If my wife was on here, she'll say a whole lot of other stuff. But me, I'm just chill. That's just me. I like conversations, like talking to conversations, getting people different perspectives, because your perspective is not always the right perspective. And hearing somebody else, like you'd be like, oh, okay, so that's good. Oh, I also got a podcast called All Faith, No Fear. You can listen to it on all platforms. It's just basically talking about different people talking about how they went from fear to faith. And the gist of it is basically is Christian faith, but I like to have a lot of entrepreneurs on there, because the one thing about being an entrepreneur, if you ain't got faith, then you ain't no entrepreneur. Because a lot of things you're gonna do, you don't know what's gonna come after it. You don't know the reaction from the people. You don't know if it's gonna connect with the people or not. And so you're totally stepping out on faith when it comes to doing what God has called you to do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Look, no wonder, man. Listen, no wonder. First of all, you are our neighbor, pretty much. I'm in Georgia. You right there,
Yeah, right there.
You like right there. Now, it's so interesting what you said about, having land versus wanting the city life. Yeah, I guess that's the trade-off, right? Like, I mean, there might be some land in the city, but not like land.
Yeah.
So
My wife grew up in the country, Campobella, town called Campobella. Y'all would never hear of it, so don't even try. It's like one of them towns that got one street light, but like she grew up, and like her mom has a lot of land, like 4 or 5 acres of land, or they're like, so she grew up in it, so she loves it. So that is the compromise in my marriage right now, because I am a city person. The only thing that keeps me here, we do stay by the highway, so I do hear cars go by. So that gives me a little bit of the city life.
Well, you never know. They build up these small towns too. So I mean,
True.
the fact that y'all got land like that, and I mean, hopefully, maybe I don't know how y'all can compromise. But I'm trying to think, like in regards to maybe you can live in the city and vacation in I don't know. Y'all can figure it out.
Me, I want that. The Jeffersons, I want that deluxe apartment in the sky. That skyscraper, that's what I want. But it's all good. Long as we're together, that's all that matters.
Y'all listen. Look, the devil is busy, mad at this conversation. We gonna be all right though. Man, no, that was funny. You said you want that deluxe apartment in the sky. Oh, well, I mean, maybe one way or the other. Maybe vacationing in the city, or like what's the nearest city to y'all though?
The nearest city, it's Spartanburg. So we got Spartanburg, Greenville, and then Charlotte, North Carolina. We probably about 45 minutes from Charlotte.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. But that's a whole nother
Yeah,
state.
it's another state. Yeah, so
Right.
we like right there, almost like at the borderline in between. But
On the line.
so when we go places, that's where we go. Like we'll go to Charlotte or we'll go like Spartanburg to Greenville. But I like Charlotte more because, of course, it got a lot more to offer.
Yeah. Look, shout out to Charlotte. That's one of my mentors is now. She's out there doing shows and plays and whatnot. Maybe I can go check out a show one day.
Okay, no problem. Just let us know.
Impact Productions. Yeah. Go check them out. They doing some good stuff going on. You never know. She might pull me in because she called me her ram in the bush. So you never know. I'll let you know though if I find out something. But that's really cool. You were just something else earlier I was going to talk about. Oh, you mentioned your football team. Now listen, I'm not too much into the sports whatnot, but I mean, listen, I'm married to a Raven. So
well, you ain't got no choice.
All about the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah. And I'm from Jordan. They say that we weapon the wrong bird, but I mean that's what my husband into. So and he already done trained our son. Like we love the Ravens, right, Papa?
Yeah, he indoctrinated him already. Like you gonna be a Raven? Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts. Nah, buddy.
Raven fans. He had him wrapped up in a little Ravens banquet when he was born. So. Yep.
Hey, I understand.
I guess I got to say that. I said I don't know much about your team, but
Yeah, when I have one, I'm gonna be doing the same thing. Everything gonna be Carolina all day.
Oh.
The room gonna be Carolina. I don't even care boy or girl. Carolina. you ain't got no choice.
So she gonna be a cheerleader then.
Yeah, cheerleader, something. I need tickets.
Man, but see, that's the beautiful thing about, again, the man and the woman, the husband and the wife, because I just see even with us tag team. I know you're not a father yet. I mean, I'm sure whenever that comes, you're gonna be great. Yeah. I already can kind of see that.
Lord, yeah.
Yeah, I believe that, and but it's just a beautiful thing to have both of us, and then not say we tag team or whatever, but we be there right together when it comes to certain stuff. We try to teach him stuff, and we like, he says something, and I'm like, amen, and then I'm saying something, he's like, that's right, and you know what I mean? Like,
True.
It's just a beautiful thing. So, I mean, not trying to rush y'all, because I know that's probably like the number one question of the whole family.
We just like the practicing part. We're going to keep the practice going, and when the Lord see fit, then it'll happen. But until then, we love practice.
Well, and there you go. Look, tell the people, because listen, sooner we got married, probably even before we got married. I want to say when I met my grandmother-in-law on the phone, she was talking about me having a girl, and I'm like, I mean, we dating right now. I don't know what. And so they was really looking for a girl on their side of the family and whatnot. And we weren't the one that blessed them with the one. Yeah, we're gonna see what the Lord do. I'm not opposed. We're gonna see what the Lord do, but as of right now, like I'm cool with the one we have. I'm trying to make sure we don't break him, and so make sure we keep the momentum going. I feel like we're doing good thus far, so we're gonna just see what. But yeah, I'm not rushing y'all, but that's what I'm saying. I'm sure, because I know other people, y'all family might be doing that enough.
I'm telling you.
Asking them, when y'all gonna have a baby? When y'all gonna give me them grandbabies?
And I'm to the point, I'm like, bro, y'all want us to have them, but y'all ain't gonna take care of them. Like, don't be wanting us to want something because you want it. Like, no, it don't work like that. Me and my wife are enjoying each other. We are able to travel. We are able to, you know what I'm saying? We ain't got to worry about nobody. Just not to say, I mean, because a child is a big responsibility. And I have seen so many times where a break up a marriage, divide the people, and because they forget about themselves and focus so much on the kids. And like once the kid out the house, then you try to come back together and you realize like, bro, I don't even like you.
Oh no. Well, hopefully it don't go that route. Like I think as long as we keep remembering the order, right? God, man, the woman, X, Y, and Z. Like if we remember that, because I know I don't know if my husband think I'm joking, but I'm telling him like we need to remember, because it's like, oh, well, put our son, like, no. Like, we can't put him above, I can't put him above you. You know what I'm
True.
saying? It's just, I don't know. People might take offense to that, whatever case is, because you think, like, and I get it. We got to care for the child, of course. I'm not saying like neglect the child or anything, but what I'm saying is that bond of marriage is very important as well, and we can't neglect that.
True that.
In which a lot of people we tend to do. And even when I had our son, I realized how important it was for me to take time for myself as well. And so I know I started a group just to remind women, like, hey, don't forget to take time to unwind, y'all. We get so wrapped up in, again, everything else, and then we forget about ourselves. And like I said, I didn't realize how important it was until I had him. And then I'm like, I need some time for me as well. I got to start being intentional about having some me time, because I see how this is getting a little bit, I don't think I ever let it get too out of control or anything, but I just feel like I just didn't realize how important that would be until I started to see. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Now I got to be more intentional about making sure I got time for me. Actually, time for us as a family, time with him. All these things we got to, be good stewards over and stuff. And so
true that. Makes sense. It makes sense, because and it's not we do it purposefully. Like, it's just like, that's the human nature of us. Like, when we have kids, we think we gotta put our kids before ourselves, and we forget about our own needs and things of that nature. So even for me and my wife, like, sometimes earlier in the marriage, I forgot about myself, and whatever my wife wanted, whatever my wife needed, I was there. I was putting her needs before my needs, and not realizing, like, okay, I don't have to do everything for you. Like, you can do some stuff yourself, and I can do some stuff myself too. Like, just because we might have like a disagreement, or I don't do something that you feel like, it's not going to break us apart. And I feel like a lot of people, like, are afraid of that right there, that it's just going to break them apart. And no, you just had a little disagreement, a little tussle. That's all. A little wrinkle that you got ironed out. That's all.
Yeah, it's good just making sure the communication is open, and then approaching things with love too. Because I know even with issues that I may have had in my marriage, I think, one thing I ended up doing was just seeking the Lord more about, like, well, Lord, at the end of the day, I know I can't change him. So what is it that I'm missing here? And then I realized that, okay, I need to change my perspective about how I'm looking at it and how I'm approaching it, or whatever the case is. So, I think it's good to be able to communicate and, let people know your alts or whatever. But at the end of the day, I don't have to like nag him about it. I don't have to like, beat him up with it, or whatever the case is. I can just present it. Hey, this is where I'm seeing, this or that I may like, or this or that, might need some improvement about, like, for example, even last year, right? I felt like we need to be more intentional about family time, right? And so not only did I communicate that to him, but then I'll, put forth some effort to do things to incorporate that into our life, And then at this point, I'm kind of like, even when it comes down to finances and stuff like that, I'm trying to make sure that I'm, leaving things to the side. So, for example, if we do want to have a movie night, or if we do want to, like, let's just order in and whatever, or do something as a family, let's go bowl, whatever. Like, now we're not stressed about, how are we going to do X, Y, and Z, or feeling like, well, we can't do this or that because we don't have the resource, or whatever the case is. It's like, be intentional about planning some stuff out. Somebody got to take maybe charge of that particular thing. But so I feel like that's what's kind of, I guess, brought a little bit more peace in our household. Like, not just, not that me and him ever really argued like that, but it's just one of those things where, when you see issue or whatever case is, you want to make sure you're communicating and then figuring out ways to solve the issue. And sometimes I think we like to point at the other person and be like, well, if only you did this, or that, or the other, then the issue would be fixed. But I think what I guess God helped me to see was that, you could do some stuff to change the situation as well. So, it's just one of those things. I know marriage and stuff. People say it's so hard. It's so hard. So, what you say? Do you think marriage is hard?
I don't think it's hard. I
don't think it's that hard.
It is what you make it. Like, I feel like the number one thing, like you said, communication. As long as you're communicating your wants and communicating your needs, like it I mean, it's really no, like, if you have a problem or anything, like, communicate it. Don't hold on to it. Like, I feel like that's where marriage gets hard, is because you're holding on to stuff that you should have told your mate, and then when something comes up, like, you bring all that stuff up. Like, our marriage counselor was like, what you're doing is you're building a case against your mate. And he was basically saying, like, you'll get by you not saying anything when stuff happen or you feel a certain type of way, you just allow it to build up inside of you. And once you allow it to build up inside of you, you're gonna be arguing. One day, an argument gonna come up, and you gonna bring up all this stuff. You done built the case up against why this is the way it is and this is the way it is. And so he was like, just be honest with one another. Like, honestly, like, me and my wife, we literally just did, and we've been married, what, 4 years, going on 4 years. We just did our love language test. So that's where a conflict was coming in our marriage, because she trying to tell me to love her the way she want to be loved. I'm trying to tell her the way I want to be loved, but we both loving each other the way that we receive love. And so, like, it was clashing. So once we did the test, it was like, oh, I get it now, why you do the certain things that you do and all that type of stuff. And then, like, you know, you gotta have fun. Like, me and my wife, I joke. I'd be like, God, look at here. This your daughter. This is your daughter. You gave her to me. Now you might need to reiterate to me why you gave her to me, but she's tripping right now. This is your daughter. You can handle her. You know her in and out. You know her better than I know her. You made her. Lord, this your daughter. Get her. Don't get her. But,
yeah.
But that, I mean, that's the best thing you can do too, and that's the thing. It's like we minimize prayer, right? We think like, oh, you say prayer again, you know, X, Y, and Z. But it's like, I found so much peace in just laying the thing for God and be like, you know what, you, like you said, this is your daughter, your son, X, Y, and Z, and you know, help me in this situation, you know, and you know, and then then again, when I do communicate or whatever the case is, I'm not coming to it or bringing it in a way of, again, the nagging or the arguing or the finger pointing or anything like that. It's just, hey, let's have an open line of communication about it, X, Y, and Z. But the other things, I just take it to the Lord and like, Lord, you know, and I think that's probably what we're supposed to do as well, though. You know, I think God wants us to be communicating with him about the things or whatnot. But we, you know, again, spend so much time pointing at the other person and stuff. And so, and seeing everybody else's flaws, but you know,
like you said, like prayer in a marriage is like foundational. You have you have to have it. Like, even when me and my wife, we have like an argument, like we'll stop in the middle. Like, if we're having an argument, we'd be like, hold on, wait a minute, let's pray, and then let's come back to this, because what we're doing, we're just pointing the blame. Ain't nobody really hearing each other, because you just got your points you want to get across. I got my points I want to get across. And at the end of the day, nothing is going to come from them. So, okay, let's allow the Lord to be in this conversation. That way, voices are not raised. We can listen to each other. We communicate to each other the way that we are supposed to communicate, instead of just yelling at each other and being frustrated with one another. Like, we got a system, which I don't like it, but I do like it. We got a system. So, like, my wife, like, we got note cards. So we'll take note cards like this. We got yellow, blue, and pink. So, like, yellow means it's a hard conversation. As you can see, I ain't got no more yellow. I got one yellow left. So yellow's a hard conversation. Blue is like finances. So anytime we need to talk about finances, we put the blue card, like, it'd be on the kitchen table. But whoever needs to talk about it, they'll put it on the kitchen table and have the topic of conversation. And pink is just like, I need my quality time with you. So
Wow.
we do that. Huh?
Who came up with this system?
So our counselor came up with it because we had a problem with discussing stuff. Like we was yellers. Like she raised her voice, I'm gonna raise it louder. She gonna raise it the next side. And see me, I'm an introvert. So when you come at me with something, them pressure moments for me. Like I'm just gonna go in the cave, I'm gonna shut down. And then my yelling is for me to get away. It's for me to get away so I can have my shutdown. So we came up with this. We came up with this because what it does for me, it allows me the time to get ready for the hard conversation. So if we're gonna have a hard conversation, we put that on the table. That way, when I come in the house, I know I can still wind down, but I know by the end of the night we gotta have this conversation, and I can get mentally prepared to have the conversation that we need to have. And it has helped us tremendously because now we know we both coming in and we're not catching each other off guard. We both coming in, at least I know there's a problem that she has and she wants to talk about it. And it's for me just to listen and hear her heart. So yeah, that's something we came up with, man. It has blessed our marriage tremendously.
Man, like, first of all, can I just say, like, kudos to you. Like, I don't know much of anything, obviously, about y'all's marriage or anything like that, but I just want to give you kudos for, like, it seemingly that, you know, your male leadership or whatever in this relationship is just speaking volumes on, like, you know, you being willing, for example, to even go to the counseling, right? You being willing to try new approaches to communicating, like you even take, you know, acknowledging that, okay, I fall short in this area or X, Y, and Z. Like all of this stuff people take so much issue with doing. And then we wonder why marriages and relationships and stuff don't work. And so for you as a man to be, you know, I'm only talking to you right now, her as well, right? But what I'm saying is for you as a man to be willing to do it and putting in this work for your marriage, whatever, I just think that's such a beautiful thing that is just lost these days. Like, because people act like men, and I guess this goes back to your groups and whatnot as well. But people just act like men, either they don't want to communicate, they don't want to the X, Y, and Z. They just talk about y'all in such a way where you think, okay, well, a man wouldn't even want to go to counseling with me or whatever. You know, you just hear all of these different things about men and whatnot. And so, I mean, well, one, I think we should just get out of grouping folks together in any capacity. You just need to deal with people individually. I think that would help us in that area as well. But I just want to say kudos to you as the husband in this household and being willing to, you know, do the thing and do the work, you know what I'm saying, to make sure that your marriage sustains and lasts and stuff like that, instead of just taking the easy way out and being like, you know, I'm gone, or I don't want to listen, or I don't want to go to counseling or any of that type of stuff. Like, I think it's really good.
And I'm gonna be honest, like, I ain't always been like this. Like, I had to grow. Like, honestly, we've been married almost going on 4 years in March. I did not start out like this. Like, our first year of marriage was horrible. Like, it was terrible. And just give a little testimony about it. Like, our first year of marriage, we got married in 2020. In 2020, so you can imagine we did do premarital counseling. Like we got married right before the pandemic hit. Like literally right before they started shutting everything down. Like we was married, and then like 2-3 weeks later, everything was shut down. So like imagining like her baggage, your baggage coming in together, and now you stuck in the house. You can't go nowhere. So like from her baggage, my baggage, we didn't know how to communicate. We didn't know how to be there for one another. We didn't know each other's love language. All we knew was past traumas from our last relationships. And so things she would do that my former girlfriends would do would trigger me. Same thing for her. Things I would do would trigger her. So it put me in a place, and at this time, I wasn't mature enough to know that, you know, going outside of my marriage was the wrong thing to do. So in the 3 months, the first 3 months, I cheated. Like I cheated. I committed infidelity in the marriage. What was it? We got married in March. I was cheating by May, June. Like I was cheating because for me as a man, I didn't know how to take it. I didn't know how to express my feelings. All my life I was an introvert. I was never able to articulate how I felt or how things made me feel. So I would just trap it in and I would do quick fixes. So basically that's what the infidelity led to, was quick fixes. I was just getting quick fixes but still coming back home, not dealing with the situation. I mean, it even got to the point to where I moved out. Moved in with the girl. The craziest thing about it was we was all going to the same church. We was all in the same church Sunday after Sunday, and it had got out in church, so everybody knew what was going on. And like my wife is a trooper. I ain't gonna lie. You would never know like she was going through what was going through if it would have never been exposed. So she was coming. I was coming with the girl in the church. We were still married. People still know what was going on. But like, I'm trying to think what happened. My counselor, I was going to counseling. I started going to counseling. And he asked me a question one day. He was like, how do you think God views you? And I was like, what you mean? Like, I'm good. In my eyes, I was good. I was in flesh. I'm not gonna lie. I was in flesh. I was in sin because I had this other female doing all the things that I wanted my wife to do. And my wife wasn't doing it, but I never articulated it to my wife to let her know that this is what I wanted. And for men, I feel like that's where we fail at so much. We don't articulate our feelings. Instead, we just go to an outlet. No matter what that outlet is, it might be drinking, it might be smoking, pornography, another woman, or I mean, some occasions, another man, it happens. This is the reality we live in. So I didn't know how to articulate. So when my counselor asked me that, I was like, whoo, that's a tough one. He was like, no, you're not. Because I was like, man, I'm good. I'm thinking he said, how do I feel that other people know? And in my eyes, I was like, man, I don't care about other people. They got their stuff going on. They know what they doing, all that type of stuff like that. And he was like, no, he's like, you did not hear the question. He said, how does God see you? And I'm like, oh. Like God, he was like, you don't want the wrath of God to hit your life. Because he was like, when the wrath of God hits your life, you don't know which way he's gonna come. He could come through your family, he could come through you, like you having bodily illness or a thorn in your flesh, like you never know. And like that day, literally, that day, I went back into the girl house. I said, I gotta go back home. I said, I gotta go back home and make my marriage work. I say, this will never work because it started off wrong in the first place. I say, I'm still in covenant. So there's no way that this is going to work. So I went back home and, me and my wife still had issues. So I did leave. I left again. And I went to my mom's house. Still having issues. I was like, God, we done. Like, I'm done with this marriage. I don't want no more. Even my wife, like the whole time, my wife was like, God told me to stay. God told me to stay with you. So for me, I'm like, if God told you to stay, I need you to see your actions. I need you to look at what you're doing. I was like, I admit to my wrong. I admit to what I did because it was completely and totally wrong. I know this, but it felt good. It felt good, to be honest. I mean, when you in sin feel good when you out there. But on the spiritual aspect, it's not good. So we both came to a common ground. I came back to the house. I was like, look, if we're gonna work, we're gonna work. And then again, I was afraid of hurting my wife's feelings when it came to telling her how I felt, what I wanted, what I needed. So this is when we started going to counseling that actually did intense digging, intense diving to get rid of her trauma so I could know what triggered her, why she act the way she act. Same thing for me. And the one thing that we never did was come up. We knew how to communicate within ourselves, but we never came together and built a communication for our marriage and a foundation of communication for our marriage. So we went through all that. I mean, it was tough. It was hard. It was tough and it was hard. But like I said, my wife, the whole time she said God told her to stay. Throughout the whole entire process, she had pastors, church members, leaders, everybody telling her to leave me. Everybody. Because of course, people see what happened. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it kind of hurt me because I was like, y'all, like at the end of the day, I'm still a soul. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, I messed up. I made a choice that wasn't right, but we all made choices that wasn't right. Mine was just in the public eye. That's what happened. I got exposed. It was in the public eye. And at that time, like I tell people, that was the worst and the best place that I've ever been in my life, because I actually got to see who was for me, who wasn't for me. And I was so broken to the point to where I didn't have no choice but to rely on God. That like I was at the bottom of bottoms, because here I am. I'm at my mom's house, sleeping on my mom's couch. No job, no nothing. Like I ain't really got nobody to reach out to. The people that I could reach out to, they not in the Lord. So of course they're gonna automatically take my side no matter what. Like whatever I say, it's gonna go. They're not gonna look at it from a spiritual perspective. And so I really just had to make a decision and come back to my wife, and I was like, we have to make this work. I was like, we both have said this is God ordained. We both have said that God told us that we are one. So there's what God brings together, you know, he don't tear apart. So and it's true. The only thing about it, we just had to put the work in, and we wasn't putting in the work. We was just, like you said, doing the blame game. We was just blaming. I was blaming her for stuff. She was blaming me for stuff. We wasn't looking at each other. And so once we got in counseling, we started doing intense digging, intense diving, and got up out all those emotions, all those traumas from childhood and all that. And like, we here today. And, you know, people think we've been married like 20 something years. I'm like, bro, we only been married 4 years. But, you know, is for me, it's like, I'm glad God allowed us to go through it and to get all that stuff out within our first year of marriage, our first year of marriage, because it would have been, I think it would have been more devastating to be married 10 something years and then found out all this information that you could have found out in the beginning. So like, to be able to have that healthy, you know, communication and put systems and strategies in place for us to be able to communicate and for us to be able to have a great marriage. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and say that every day is kudos, because some days I'll be coming up in here, I'll be like, like I said earlier, God, this your daughter. But at the end of the day, like I love my wife. I truly love my wife, and I truly love that God has placed her in my life. And like they say, marriage is a mirror. So like, she be on me about stuff, I be on her about stuff. But at the end of the day, we're a team, and we make it work. Like even through the hard times, we make it work. And I wouldn't be with nobody else. I'm telling you, if God told me today, that ain't, you wrong. But yeah, so like, that's where honestly my leadership as a husband comes from. Because even as a child, I always wanted the family. I always wanted to be a great leader when it came to having a family and all that type of stuff. And I admire couples that have been together for 20 something years and they stood the test of times. And I've always wanted that type of testimony. But I never knew the I say reach or influence that I would have from my own story. Because I have men that come to me now and be like, bro, like, how did you do that? How did you, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't look at it from that standpoint. I just looked at it from a standpoint of just being a faithful married man. Like that's what I wanted to be. That was my desire. And I asked the Lord to help me. Cause you know, we live in a world where people do not care about marriage no more. They want what they want, and they gonna try their best to get what they want. And you know, I have to ask the Lord, help me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's easy to be tempted and turn away quickly. Quickly. So, you know, I just ask the Lord to help me in all my areas that I feel like I need help in, because at the end of the day, I don't want to. My biggest thing now is I don't want to misrepresent God. I want to misrepresent him in no type of way. And it's not me putting on a facade or me trying to, you know, be something that I'm not. But that is like one thing to me that sticks out. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying, misrepresent God. And because if I go out here and mess up now, not only am I misrepresenting him, I'm misrepresenting my marriage. I got church people that look up to me. I got youth, young boys that look up to me. All these things that, you know what I'm saying, that I could mess up in a moment's of time because I was weak in my flesh at one point in time, just for a couple of seconds. And the other person not gonna care. They ain't got nothing to lose like you got to lose. So my love for my wife, I couldn't do anything either. Like I would hate to, you know, betray her again, especially after all we went through and all the work that we put in. Like, I don't want none of that to go down the drain. And so, like, yeah, that's my thing. Like, I don't want to misrepresent Christ. Because as long as I have Christ at the forefront of my mind, everything else gonna fall in place, and I ain't got to worry about nothing else because he's at the forefront of my mind. So everything else is obsolete. As long as I keep him at the forefront, everything else is gravy to me. Anyway, that's my opinion and my personal testimony. Because somebody else might say different, but not me. Long as Christ is at the forefront, hey, you can't tell me nothing else.
Well, first, let me just say, well, I know there's several things here, brother. There's several things, but I want to first just say thank you so much for being open and transparent about that testimony. You don't know how many people you might have just set free just by sharing that. So thank you so much for sharing that. You know, I ain't gonna lie, my first thought, man, when you had told to start telling the story, I was like, during the pandemic, bro, how you had time during the pandemic? Because you probably been in the house. I thought they said, you know.
But hey, even though we were supposed to be in the house, people were still out. They would have a house party. I ain't gonna lie, my church, we were still having church during the pandemic. We were just limited on the people that came in. We made sure we did all the checks and stuff. But my pastor was not shutting down church for nothing. Good. So
shout out to your pastor, because some of them still shut down. No, let me stop.
You're right. They ain't coming. They don't want to come back in the building. They got lazy. That's all that is.
And so that's a whole nother conversation there. But yeah, and I mean, you know, kudos to your wife. But on one hand, it sounds like you said that she said that she was glad by God to stay. I mean, because technically, you know, with what happened, far as I understand, that is the one out, you know, in regards to marriage. And I you know, I don't know what I would do. You know, I think me and my husband had these conversations, obviously, you know, and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, because you know how I feel, right, and stuff, I would feel some way, you know, to find out if he was to do something wrong, whatever the case is, and vice versa, because you know, I'm trying to do my best as well, you know, it's like that, because like you said, temptation is all around, and definitely gonna try to come for you when you're trying to do something right and do the will of God and things of that nature. And so the enemy will find any little way to sneak in when something is, you know, a little bit broken or whatever case is, because we're not perfect, right? We are human and we fall short.
And so if there's any little inch, the enemy will try to take that whole mile, whatever the case is. And so, I'm glad that you all are, you made it through and that you all are in the place that you are in now. And we can see, right, even with just the things that you share, and again, not having had one conversation with your wife, I can see, I'll just put it like that. I can see how powerful this is for you all to have gone through that and to stay together, because like I said, just the testimony alone is powerful and can be life-changing for someone who may be on the brink, right? Maybe considering doing this or that and stepping out of marriage. Maybe they haven't done it yet, things of that nature. And we already know that you're working with the men and the groups and things like that. And I commend you all for, creating that safe space for, the leadership and mentorship and the discipleship and all that different type of stuff where the men can come together and talk and have a safe place and whatnot. Because, I mean, again, I try to make GSL a safe place. And so we've had some conversations where I call them male perspective, and I'll be there like, asking random questions and stuff, but it usually just be the men talking or whatever. And all of that's just so powerful because, again, we need the fellowship, definitely the men folk in the church. Because, I mean, not to be like there's not men in the church, because there are, but you usually see way more women,
Scarce.
so that's
yeah.
And so, but at the same time too, again, we need to see the men and the good men and the men that are willing to do work and whatever the case is. And so, yeah, man, I commend you, man. I thank you for sharing that testimony. And like I said, no judgment from me. I'm glad to just hear that you all are on the other side and that things are better, right? May not be perfect, and they will never be perfect, right? But things can be better. And again, obviously, you all are putting in the work for it to be that. And it's great, right, that this all happened before you became fathers and mothers, because that's a whole nother dynamic.
Well, if we would have had kids, we would have had kids during that process. Lord have mercy. And they got to go through all that and see it. That would have traumatized them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And see, and that's the thing, we don't think about these things because, like you said earlier, when the sin is just so, appealing, right? Or whatever the case may be when you're in the midst or whatever. But then we don't think about the consequences of certain actions and doing certain things. Like in that scenario, I mean, it affected you and your wife and obviously the third party. But yeah, if you were a father, just imagine if they say your wife was pregnant at the time, like, oh my gosh, like, but people have those testimonies. Like, that's some stuff that actually happens out here. So that's not too far-fetched to think.
Yeah. You got a lot of men that cheat on their pregnant wives just because they can't, they can't get what they need and they just go out there. And I'm like, bro, how you cheat on your pregnant wife?
Brother Rodney, don't you get me started. Because listen, well, this is GSL, and y'all already know here at GSL, or y'all should know. I was the most wanting it. I'll say it in that way. I wanted it the most then, and my husband was like scared, and I get it, But on the flip side, it's like, I mean, like, I don't know, some of the married couples, I guess they went ahead and got it in. My husband, it's our first time, of course. So we, so I give him grace and mercy in that area. But on the flip side, I'm like, man, listen, you just don't understand how much I wanted it in that time and that season, So what you mean you can't get whatever from your pregnant wife? Your pregnant wife will probably made me have to grab my water. But we too comfortable now, brother. We'll come back and talk about that.
Yeah.
Women want it too. I don't know if I got to be the one to let people know. Women want sex too, y'all. We ain't got to go too in deep into it unless Brother Footman want to go ahead and continue to talk. But I think the narratives, right, that are out about like marriage, women, men, all the different narratives are just.
Well, I'm gonna be honest.
You get in a relationship and you have the expectation based on what you done heard all your life.
Very true.
And then it don't be that way. You like, what I thought.
Very true. And like you said, it's so many different narratives now. Like I was listening to a podcast, I almost had to cut it off because the girl was talking about, like she was talking about being married and was talking about having, it was okay for her husband to go out and get another woman and bring her in, and just him and her can do whatever, and she be left out. And she was talking about cooking breakfast for them in the morning. And I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, what? I was like, oh, we just on a whole
Christian program. That was that a Christian program, brother?
It wasn't a Christian program, but I was like, I was appalled. And even though I knew it went Christian, but I'm like, is this what the world has really like? And like I've been seeing like I've been seeing a lot of polygamy going on, coming back now, and I'm like, bro, and I think me and my wife watched the show. I think it was called Sister Wives. This man had 4 wives. And I said, baby, I'm sorry, but there is no way. I was like, one of you is enough to have 4? Bro, man, I go crazy. I'm like, there is no way.
There's all kinds of stuff out here, brother. Like, I ain't, you know, I mean, there's so many things to say here.
It's a lot, and there's a lot out here. Like, and you know, like my pastor, he has a saying. You know, people say, "What you don't know will keep you protected," but like my pastor has a saying, like, "What you don't know can possibly get you killed." And so, like, and it's like it's not like you research this stuff or you want to know. You just come across it and you just be like, what in the world? What is going on?
How about the people that try to use the Bible to justify it?
Oh my, and they do it too.
You heard it?
They do it.
I'm like, first of all, I feel like, now this is just me, okay? Yeah, I'm gonna put this out. Yeah, there are things in the Bible, right? Just because it was in there don't mean that God co-signed it, right? I feel like he was very clear about what his intentions was for marriage.
And a lot of the stuff they talk about is in the Old Testament. We don't live in that time no more. We don't live in that. I mean, you supposed to take stories, learn from it, but when Jesus came, he abolished all of that. Like, you're not supposed to be out here now, you know, back in King Solomon day, all that type of stuff. Okay, they had multiple wives and stuff. We don't do that today.
I don't think that was God's will, though. Yeah, he allowed it to happen, just like he allowed us to do whatever we want to do now. But that don't mean that it was like what his intention. I feel like the beginning set his intention, and then I also feel like when he restarted again with Noah, you didn't see Noah with multiple wives and nothing like that. You saw him and his wife, they sons and their wives. That's what you saw. And even the animals was 2 by 2. Like, come on, man. Like, we just want to do what we want to do. And then we want to like try to find loopholes and still be like, oh, I'm a believer and I'm gonna go to heaven. It's like, I mean, just I think stuff like that, that's just one of those things that add on to stumbling blocks in other people's ways, because people look at that stuff and think like, oh, well, it is in the Bible. That person might be right. It was in there, but that don't mean that it was that God's will. Like, just like the murder that's in there wasn't God's will, the rapes that was in there probably wasn't God's will. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just because something was in there and it was documented that such and such happened, X, Y, and Z, don't mean that it was will. And then also, a lot of the stuff, like, I mean, I had to do way more research, right? But I have read the accounts, for example, where they talk about, I don't know if it was Abraham, the man that was told that he was going to have a son. I guess he felt like God was taking it too long. So his wife told the woman or her server to go. And so he had a child with that. Abraham, and then ultimately the wife had son. And then, and to my understanding, now again, I got to do all the deep research and whatnot, but to my understanding, isn't that what the whole Palestine-Israel conflict is? Those two families or those two bloodlines, yeah. Like, from my understanding, that's what that is. Yeah. And
they both created nations. Even though it was out of God's will for him to do that, God still blessed the seed. But the original intent was for him not to do that. Right. So yeah, he slept and created Ishmaels, and that's what we do. we create Ishmael situations, and then God has to come and rectify the situation. And as you were saying earlier, like, people take stuff out the Bible, but they don't do their research to get the original content of why things were done the way it was done in the Bible. Because everything has a significance and a purpose of why God did what he did. And you have to actually do the research and figure out what was going on in that time and why God did what he did before you go out here and start quoting scriptures to cover up your sin. No, you got to do the research. You got to do the background, what was going on in that time, who was God talking to in that time, why he did what he did, and what was the result of what he did what he did. And like, people don't do that. They just take it, and you know what I'm saying? They just take it, and the parts that they want out of it, that they want to do, they apply scripture to that. And the thing I hate the most when they say God know my heart. Oh my, I can't stand it. Man, that saying, get on God. God know my heart. Yeah. He might know your heart, but what's your will? Your will is supposed to be aligned to his will. The Bible says the heart is deceiving. You don't follow your heart. You follow his will. Your heart gonna get you in all kind of trouble.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Man, look, I already know, man. Look, we're gonna be here all day. Listen. So in order to just go ahead and just attempt to wrap this up, I would just say, like, where would you where would you like the people to go and find you and more about your ministry and the different things that you have going on? And then I also want to just leave the floor for you to be able to just share whatever it is you would like for the people to know before you go.
So if you want to find me, y'all, I am horrible at social media, but I'm finna get better. But you could just type in my name on social media, and I promise you, I'm gonna get the content coming. But yeah, you can just follow me on my social media. My social media is my name, nothing crazy, just Rodney Footman. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to follow my podcast, I do have a YouTube channel, All Faith No Fear, where you can follow it on YouTube. Also, I'm streaming on all listening platforms as well: Spotify, Apple Music, Google, wherever you listen to your podcast at. You can listen to me on that podcast as well. What's anything else that I got? If you want me on your podcast, just DM me. You know what I'm saying? Shoot me a message. Or if you want to be on my podcast, shoot me a message, because I am taking people. I don't mind talking and having conversations. Anything? What was the last question again?
Is there anything you want to leave us with today, like something to think about, or just something that you was like, I'm gonna go on that GSL and I want to talk about this?
Well, you know what? I did not know what to expect from GSL. When I seen the title, God, Sex, and Was Love, right? I was like, oh, this is gonna be interesting. I was like, I gotta listen to some of these episodes, because I don't know what she talking about. Because when you put God and sex in the same sentence, people cringe. So, man, honestly, the only thing I want to leave people with to think about is like what I said earlier. Just make sure that you're representing Christ, right? Like, at the end of the day, we all have feelings. We all have our frustrations. We all have things that we're dealing with. But people are looking to you to see how you handle certain situations. People are looking to you to see how you go through trials, how you go through storms and things of that nature. And if you always have that at the forefront of your mind, that I want to represent Christ, right? God will give you that peace. He will give you that peace to go through anything, and you'll have people looking at you like, how did you go through that? Like, why you still got a smile on your face? Like, do you not know what you're going through? Like, even like right now, I can say me and my wife are going through a little storm. My job laid me off, but at the end of the day, like, I was like, I have a podcast called All Faith No Fear. So who am I to not trust in God and have faith in God when I created a podcast called All Faith No Fear, and a whole bunch of stuff gonna come from that. But like, if I don't exemplify faith, who am I to tell somebody else to have faith in something? So even yesterday, like, people in the church knew what was going on, what had happened, but I came in with the biggest smile on my face. And it was like, Rodney, why you smiling? You got such and such. And I'm like, bro, at the end of the day, that is a resource. God is the source. So I'm pretty sure he going to provide me with something else. He going to provide me with even better. And I'm going to have more time to do the things that I really love and want to do. And even if that, he might give me a career or a position in the thing that I love to do.
Exactly.
So again, keep Christ at the forefront. May always you're representing Christ. And whatever you do, I don't care what you do, how you speak, how you talk, how you walk, how you are on that job, how you are in the grocery store, in church, you are representing Christ. Period.
There you go. There you go. I know there's much more to discuss, bro. Like, I mean, you and your wife, y'all welcome to come back. You know you welcome to come back.
Yeah, as soon as I tell her, she's going to be.
Well, yes, y'all come on back and whatnot. Because like I said, I mean, to me, I feel like I got family in South Carolina now. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, and, definitely.
Looking forward to many more conversations, bro.
Definitely.
Much for watching the GSL Talk Show, and thank you to Brother Rodney for joining us tonight. I hope that you all were moved by that testimony. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and check out Brother Rodney and his endeavors. Have a good night.